Hello and welcome back to Pride Parkway. I'm Jeff and this is my double O gauge layout sitting above my M gauge layout. So work has been continuing, as you can hopefully see, in this area here that we started work on in the last video. We've been putting some fencing in, we've been putting some stone walls in, actually two different types of fencing. We've been building a scale model scenery little hut that's just down there, little barn, disused barn. We've been putting the catenary wires in as a test fit and a few other bits and pieces as well. So work is continuing, not massively fast, but it is happening. So let's jump straight into the video. As always, a massive thank you to everybody who subscribes to the channel, everybody who's following along, your comments, your thumbs up, all that good stuff, really appreciate it. So let's take a look at what I've been doing. Alright guys, so today we're going to be continuing work on this big old 8-foot countryside section that we were working on in the last video. If you haven't seen the last video, probably go and watch that one first, and I will pop a link up in the top right hand corner as always. So this is all dry now. I was going to keep working on this last night, but I didn't. I went in the house and had a beer instead. So I'm going to keep working on today because it's dry. Now, after Sunday, I only have today to work on the layout because I'm back at work tomorrow and all week. So I need to try and do this in the right order because everything I need to do today is wet. So there's paint, there's glue, there's scatters, and I don't want the wrong things sticking on the wrong things. So if it appears I'm going about things a bit backwards and not necessarily the way you would do it, that's why. It's because I'm trying to get quite a lot done in one day. So first job is well, not necessarily in this order, but things we need to get done. So we need to get scatter down on all of the earth areas. So I'm going to use a combination of earth and just some random green just to get something down to start with. We need to paint all of this area up here, which is the road going down to the cottages, because it looks terrible at the minute. We need to get fencing in. So I've got some stone walling to go in and two different types of wooden fencing to go in. We also then need to paint the track work as well. So we need to get it weathered and we need to get the rails painted. So there's quite a lot to get done. And we also need to get the bridge in permanently as well. And chicken and egg situation. Do I paint the track first or do I put the bridge in first? Because once the bridge is in, I can't get to the track. And if I put the bridge in, because I need to do a little bit more sculpture molding around it, then I can't be spray painting the bridge because I won't be able to get to it. So, fun and games. Let's look at the bridge. A little bit of an aerial view, but this is where the bridge is going to go. And this is the bridge. Now, as a reminder, this started off life as a Metcalf kit that I picked up for £5 at a model railway show. Actually, it wasn't. It was a toy show, which is probably why it was cheap. And I thought, that'll do. I'll use that as a starting point. Then I realised it needed to be about 2.5 centimetres higher than it came with standard because of my overhead line equipment that I'm going to put on here. So if you have a little look underneath, not sure if the camera's picking that up, but you can see there where I've extended it. And then rather than messing on, I just coated the whole thing in plastic card, painted it up, and there's a video in my YouTube shorts which shows you how I painted this bridge to look like this. Top of it's very shiny. It's because I have put a gloss coat even. And that's because I want it to look wet, snowy, and I'm going to have a bit of a snowplow scene on there as well eventually. So the bridge just slots in with a little bit of wiggling. It will go in. And there's a couple of things that we need to do here. First of all, we've got a gap here, so I need to just bring this ground up a little bit here, up to the level of the road surface. And then I actually need to bring it down on this side because I've built it up too high for the way the bridge is. And obviously we want this road to come down into these cottages. So as well as that, there's some gaps down here. Now you could just fill this with bushes, but it's a little bit bigger than I would want it to be. So I'm just going to pop some sculpture mold down there. And that will just seal that up, bit of brown paint over the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the track just underneath the bridge. Then I can protect it with some kitchen paper or some tissue paper, and then we can work on getting the bridge in, because then I can do the sculptor mold areas, and then we can work on the rest of this ground cover for these areas here. So to paint the track, I use two different products. And this is probably going to be controversial. So if you have a different way of doing it, just pop it in the comments and people can read them and see how you do it. But I'm looking for speed on here. So I have a Woodland Scenics Tidy track painter. And all this is, it's a pen, it's a nib, and you push it down on a bit of cardboard to get the paint flowing in it, and then you can just literally rub it along the inside of your tracks and it will paint the inside of your tracks. Now some people don't like this, and that's fair enough. If you don't like it, don't use it. I'm using it. And then the second thing I'm using is a rattle can. I am using this good old Rail Match Sleeper Grime enamel spray in a can, and literally I'm just going to spray very lightly over the top. I could get the airbrush out. I could mess on having to clean the airbrush. It's an 8-foot length of track, and I'm using this because it's much quicker and much easier. The one thing I do need to be careful of is where I've put the concrete trunking in. I don't want that getting too grimy, so I'm just going to put a piece of masking tape over that. So I'll get this little area done, then we'll get the bridge in, and then we can crack on. So the bridge is in place. I have used a little bit of plaster bandage here, and I've just used plaster bandage because it dries much quicker than sculptor mold does. And the other good thing is when you're doing patches like this, you can just literally lay it down, dry, spray over it with a spray bottle, and it'll literally stick down. And then if you've got any bits of water or anything that I've run, I just spotted a bit there, you can just literally mop it off and it dries really, really quickly. I have had to use sculptor mold on this side because when I cut it off, it was quite a big indent. But just there, you may also notice behind my hand, I have put a street light in there as well before I put the bridge in so I could get the wire through. Not really a lit area, it's a country area, but just one street light kind of lighting up the entrance down to where these cottages are. I've done the same on the other side of the bridge. I'm not going to move the camera just yet, but again, just a little bit of plaster bandage, a bit of cardboard to fill those gaps. They are almost dry, so we'll be able to move on shortly to them. Wanted to have a quick look at fencing. I've got 3 different types of fencing that I'm going to use in this area of the layout. The first one is a scale model scenery, and this is the 4-foot post and rail fencing. So a little bit more kind of traditional wooden fencing. I'm going to hit that with a little bit of brown Humbrol spray paint and then assemble it to the size I need it to be. It's just easier to paint it on the sprue. And this is going to go, it's going to go along here. There's going to be a gate at this end, which is going to go through to where the track goes down to the railway for workers. Then it's going to come along here, nice solid fence, stop anybody falling down into here. I guess if it was modern times, there'd probably be a crash barrier along there as well. But, you know, this is the 90s. That will go along there up to the fence, and then we'll also have a little bit of it over here as well. So that's that one. The next one I've got is again scale model scenery, and this is LX56, which is the 4-foot post and wire fencing. Not sure how I'm feeling about this one. I'm modelling Engage, I should be able to manage it, but again, just some wooden posts and some wire to go through. It always amazes me when you see that model railway guy using this and it just kind of flies along with it. So we'll see how we get on with it. But that's going to go on this side of the railway because I'm conscious this is a very narrow layout and I don't want everything to be at the back, because if I'm taking a camera shot from the front, there needs to be things on this side of the railway as well. So that's where that's going. And then finally, I have a tiny bit of this arch laser cut stone walling. I use quite a lot of it at the other end of the layout. I'm just going to put a little bit of that up here, just on the back scene. I'm going to bring it forward a tiny bit so I can fit a couple of trees behind it, just to create a little bit of depth along there. And then the other thing I want to do as well, one of these little scale model scenery line side huts. You get 2 of these in a pack, and I've built both of them. This one's painted, the other one isn't yet painted. But that's going to go on this side of the railway here, so that again, we get a nice camera shot, because that'll be there, the fence will be behind it, it'll be grassy and snowy. So I think that'll look good. So what I'm going to do is I am going to paint up the fencing that needs painting, and while that's drying, I'm going to get this little hut bedded in, just using some gravel, and then we'll get some scatter down on the rest of the grass areas. to do this, I'm just going to use 2 different types of scatter. It's actually more than 2, but I'll talk about that in a second. And just chuck down some bog standard PVA, but any kind of PVA will do. Put that down, and then what I do is I go straight over it with some Woodland Scenics Earth Blend Fine Turf. And I have these little accent shaker bottles that you can get from Woodland Scenics as well. And I go all over it, and then I spray it all with some isopropyl alcohol, and then I go back over it with a green mix. Now remember, I'm modelling winter here, so this is my own mix. And then I go back over it again once more with the spray bottle of isopropyl, and it works a treat for me. The isopropyl soaks down through the scatter and to the glue that's underneath, and it all sticks nicely. It won't stick on the rock faces, so it works basically how I want it to. I need to remember to do these little bits down here at the side of the track as well, which is easily forgot about. So let's get it done. Alright, so that's the scatter put down. It looks really patchy at the minute because obviously the glue, and it's still wet, and I've just spotted a bit while I'm talking. That just needs a bit of green on it. There we go. And what will happen now is I'll just leave this and it'll dry. It's drying really quick. So let me show you the other side, and then we can have a chat about what I'm going to do over there. So there it is. I've just moved the camera so you can see a little better. So you can see all the white PVA at the moment that still needs to dry, but once that's dried, it will end up looking like it does at this side. So if we just move down, I did this a little bit earlier, so had a couple of hours to dry. It's still wet, but it's drier than the other side, so you can see all the PVA puddles have disappeared. See the track at the back. So the next thing I'm going to turn my attention to is this little road at the back. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit it with some different shades of grey washes, and that should tone down that awful colour that it is at the moment, but allow the different textures underneath to show through. So I'll hit that, get that done. Oh, you may also notice I've put the stone wall in the back as well, but let me get that painted up and I'll come back to you. I'm going to cross that now with some black and some grey wash, and that's really brought them colours together, so that's much more how I wanted it to look. So like it's all gravel, bits of soil coming through it, and just generally looks nice and old. Next thing I've turned my attention to is this post and wire fencing. I don't know why, I just felt like it's going to be really fiddly, but I've made a start. And if I come down, you can see the fence post. Now ignore the white bottom, it's just PVA holding them in place. And let me show you how I'm doing this. So what you get in the pack is a whole sprue of these little wooden fence posts, and they've basically got 4 holes in them. Don't know if you can see this or not. That's what you put the wire through, and then they do have a little etched line in the bottom to show you how far down in the baseboard to put them. Now basically gone across it with a Sharpie and left a little line so I can see better of where they need to be in the ground. Now it tells you to use a 2mm drill bit and to space them every 24mm, which is a scale 6 foot. So what I've done is, to make life easier, is I've just made this little piece of plastic. It's 24mm, and it basically allows me to see how far apart each of the fence posts should be. So the next one would be to go there. Now, if you want these in a straight line, there's a couple of things you can do. You could either use masking tape, put that down, or you could just literally do what I've done and just put a ruler down and then just put each of them up against the ruler. I've done the ruler on the other side where I've just shown you because I wanted them to be straight. But here I wanted to kind of just follow this little ridge along. Hopefully you can see it. You can't because I'm off camera. There's a little ridge just there and I wanted to follow it all the way along here. So what I'm actually doing is using cocktail sticks to mark where I want it to be. Now I have a pile of half chopsticks? Cocktail sticks that I just use to hold fences up and things like that while glue's drying. And all I'm doing is basically measuring my 24 mils and then pushing a cocktail stick in and just keep going along, 24 mils, cocktail stick. Now this cocktail stick is leaving the perfect size hole for the fence posts as well. So it's a bit of a win-win situation going on here. Now, once I've done that, all I do is I come along, I grab the sprue, I snap one off, and they just literally snap off like that. Dip it in some PVA glue, like that. Probably a little bit more PVA than I need. I'm going to do that one just because it's easier to get to on camera. And then pop that in, and make sure you go down to where the line is. And then I've just got a little wet paint brush that I'm just clearing away any extra PVA. Obviously that'll just dry and turn into nothing. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to put all the fence posts in first, and I'm going to leave them to dry, and then I'm going to come and put the wire in. Now one of the other things you might want to do is you might want to paint these while they're on the sprue. These are going to look a bit wet and wild because they're out in the countryside in the snow, and I don't want them to be like perfect painted fence. So I'm just going to go over them with some dry brushing once they're all in place, and probably once I put the wire on as well. It'll just help tie it all in together. So I'll keep doing this, and then we'll turn our attention to the final set of fencing. Alright, so I've put in this fencing all the way down here. This is the wire fencing from Scale Model Scenery, and it's a bit of a pain to put together, if I'm being honest with you. If you've got good eyesight, you might be better, but I had to go all the way along with a magnifying glass and just thread the wire through using a pair of pliers the whole way along. It's taken about 2.5 hours to put the wire into this, so I'm not sure I'm going to be using it a huge amount more. However, on the other side of the bridge, I have already put the fence posts in for about another 2-foot section, so I'm going to have to wire that up because they're all glued in, but that's fine. I also managed to find another pack of this arch laser cut stone walling. So I've put this in down here just to kind of separate the track off from the railway. I also had a little gate that I've put in there as well. So I'm going to turn my attention now to this area along the top. And for that, if you remember earlier, I showed you what I was using, which was the Scale Model Scenery wooden fencing. And it comes on a sprue like this. And I just lightly painted it with some brown Humbrol spray acrylic, and then you just pop the pieces out. These are what they look like when they're popped out. And I've been able to manipulate this slightly so that it'll sit with the posts in the right way to go up this side of the road here. And then of course it's going to go straight along here as well. So I'm going to assemble this together and get that put in, and then we'll have a look what we've got left to do. Alright, so here we are at the workbench, and here is that fencing complete. So I've made a big old length of it. Really simple. You just take it out the sprue, and just so you know, this is cardboard, it's not actually wood. When I'm saying a sprue, I realise that might be a bit misleading. But all you do is you take the big lengths out from the top here, and then you cut out some of these extra posts, and then you just simply glue them on, so that it then has a bit of thickness to it, a bit of 3D-ness to it. So I've prepared that length. I also ordered a pack of these 5-bar gates because I thought they would go quite well where that little track is going to be going down to the railway. That little scene I'm going to put in with the stuck Network Rail Land Rovers. That will work well. So I'll build that as well, and I'm going to get this in. As you can see, some of the posts are longer, so wherever the longer post is, I'm just going to drill a little hole in the baseboard, bit of PVA, and we'll get that stuck in. So we are fully fenced up right the way along the front and the back, right the way up to the bridge and all the way down the other side as well. I've got stone walling at this side, and then we've got the fencing on that side. Just put it all in, and then I've just dry brushed it with a little bit of brown, a little bit of grey acrylic just to bring it together. I've got one last thing that I want to get done on this video, and that is in this area here. It's really annoying me. The back scene is mirrored to make it big enough for the layout, and my eyes just constantly being drawn to this bit here where it's mirrored. So we just need something in this area to kind of take your eyes away from it. And this is what I have in mind for that area. So it's a scale model scenery Derelict barn KX05700. It's a laser cut kit. I'm guessing there's going to be some wraps in here. So there's plenty of videos online of scale model scenery themselves building these kits, so you don't need to see me do it. I think you can either build it as kind of like a nice new barn or as a derelict one. I'm going to go derelict. So I'll get this built and we'll get that put on the layout, and I'll give you a little look at it once it's done. There it is, all finished. Got some bits of greenery and moss and things kind of hanging out from it all over. We've got the old barn door on there. We've got some tiles missing with things growing out and the slates just kind of laid on the top. So that's all finished, and that will just live in there. It's going to need bedding in, but we'll take care of that. A nice big tree next to it, and that'll hide that join in the back scene if the camera ever focuses. A couple of other things that I've done is I've just put this little relay box here into place on a little platform. It's a 3D printed one from West Hill Wagon Works. I've put that in. I've also been playing around with the catenary wires because I want to test some trains running with the catenary wires in place. Now they're not glued yet, they're just placed in, so I can adjust them. So if you notice any that aren't straight, that will be why. And then just making our way along, I've also took some of the scale model scenery crash barrier. No, it's not a lie. This is West Hill Wagon Works, and just painted that up silver and added some of that on the bridge as well, just as a bit of extra detail. So I'm going to leave this video here because I don't like them getting too long. But hopefully you can see that we've made quite a lot of progress here. In the next video, I'm going to be getting the grass and the trees in, the bushes and so on, all the way along here. In fact, right the way down to that end. And in the video after that, we're going to talk snow, because we do have some snow on the layout. But I'm giving that a little bit of time to bed in, so we'll talk about it in the next video, the one after the greenery. But thanks as always, guys, for following along, subscribers new and old. I do appreciate all your comments, your likes, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.